Mike Mayo, author of Exile on Wall Street. Tell me, why did you write this book?
There was nothing left. I went ahead and did basic research by the book in the early 90s and got beaten up. I put some sell ratings on some stocks in the late 90s. I got fired. I testified to congressional committees. I yelled from the mountaintop to the press, and still we don't have solutions in place that should have been there a few crises ago. So this is my way of saying, in plain English, how our system needs to improve.
Let's talk about some of those crises. You testified in front of Congress after the tech bubble. You talked about the research conflicts. Why didn't the Spitzer settlement put an end to that?
Wow, if you told me I'd be here almost a decade later and we'd still have less than 5% of analyst ratings sell, I wouldn't believe it. So you raised the issue back then and it still hasn't fully been resolved.
You also testified about the credit and the housing bubble. Now, how did Wall Street not know that this was going to end very, very badly?
Well, this is one of the points in my book, is that the incentives are completely out of whack. I think some people had a sense that things weren't right, but you're getting paid a lot of money. And so you have front-end compensation, back-end risk, and that goes through all the overseers, accounting agencies, rating agencies, regulators, people inside the banks. There's just too much money to be made.
How do you think the incentives should be changed? What, in your view, would be a fair way to do it and smart to preserve the system?
Well, as I discussed in the book, ABC, A is for accounting. So let's make sure we have the accounting and auditing better. Let's get the numbers right. Let's have the bean counters count the right number of beans. It's really that simple. B is bankruptcy. Let's allow firms to fail. And C, let's give clout back to the shareholders. I'd like to see the CEOs have more skin in the game. How about this? The CEOs, until 3 years after they retire, they don't get all of their incentive compensation. Now that would go a long way. Some ideas along those lines.
Now, you've bounced through a lot of Wall Street firms, maybe 5 or 6 of them. What do your fellow Wall Streeters think of you right now? Maybe they think, well, look, he had a bad run. What's he complaining about?
Well, Albert Einstein had a quote, I don't know if I'm crazy or if everybody else is crazy. I truly feel as though I'm doing the job the way it's supposed to be done and the rest of the world is crazy. Time will tell, but I think this is the way I was taught in business school. This is the way I was taught by the CFA accreditation. I think this is the way you're supposed to do it, and the world is still off.
A lot of people on Wall Street think the Occupy Wall Street movement is crazy. Do you think that there's some credibility there?
Well, I'm outraged, as you can see in the book, and I can understand why other people are outraged too. And it comes down to our system not working the way it should be. I don't feel as though capitalism caused the crisis. I feel a lack of capitalism is what caused the crisis. And I think there's some common ground. A lot of people on Wall Street are saying to me, Mike, you're right. I mean, some of these top CEOs shouldn't take all this money when they haven't earned it. And the accountability still isn't in place. So I actually think there's more common ground between some on Wall Street and Occupy Wall Street than meets the eye.
Finally, are you going to have to testify again about another bubble? What is the state of America's banks right now? Where is Citigroup? Where is Bank of America? Should we be worried?
Well, my theme is that we're a lighter version of what's taken place in Japan. This is going to be the worst revenue growth decade since the decade of the Great Depression. This year is going to be the worst revenue growth year since 1938. That's before the European situation layered on top of that. So, yeah, we're going to have more crises, and that's why we need the solutions in place to help prevent them.